I cannot believe that we're already in the back half of 2024.
Are you kidding me?
But here we are. Before you know it, the calendar will be turning again, and that means we are already getting ready for 2025 conferences, and one that I'm personally very excited to attend again is the Insights EDU conference. If you care at all about growing enrollment and building a student-centered higher ed experience, you really should be at this conference. Registration is now open, so secure your spot while early bird pricing is still available. Visit insightsedu.com for more information and to register. That's visit insightsedu.com for more information and to register.
Hey everybody, this is Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience, and today we are extremely excited to announce our paid subscription service. By subscribing today, you will get exclusive early access to ad-free episodes, extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content. That's right, original content and invites to special events, all while helping to sustain EdUp. To become a subscriber, go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com and subscribe to our free email newsletter to learn how you can get access. Again, go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com.
Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to Ed Up on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is Dr. Joe Salustio back with you again and again and again as we pass 900 episodes on to marching quickly to our 1000th episode. Try to say that 3 times fast. There's so much going on in higher education today, so much to talk about, so many leaders that we still have yet to have on this podcast. Hint, hint, we've got one of them coming on today to talk to us about what's happening in her state, in the state of higher education in general. The attacks on the value of a degree continue to take place. We're seeing growing movements among credentialing, how that fits into higher education, what the academic modeling needs to look like for higher education as we move forward. We're seeing 3-year bachelor degrees start to pop their head out. And then you get with the regular stuff. How do we digitally transform our universities? How do we serve the student? And when I say student, I don't mean the 18-year-old off to find themselves at college. I mean all students. I mean those students, and I mean your commuter students, and I mean your adult students, and those that are working with families and going back to school. And I don't like to say students because we typically categorize people and we put them in a box. But students, there's all types. The modern learner. Who is the modern learner? There's somebody that takes education in multiple ways where you can find it when you need it. And we've got an academic leader with us who's been modeling things, if you will, through her career. And we're going to bring her to the microphone right now. I got to get her intro right. So let's tune it up for her. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, she is Dr. Catherine Wehlburg, president at Athens State University. Welcome to the mic, Catherine. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much.
I laid out some of the things that are going on in higher education, and the funny thing is I didn't even begin to touch all the issues that you're dealing with as a college president. But before we get into what a day in the life of Catherine, let's talk about Athens State University. For those that haven't heard of the university, where are you? What do you do, and how do you do it?
What a great start to this. Athens State University is in Athens, Alabama. So we're in the north part of the state of Alabama. And Athens University is one of only about 2 universities in the country that is an upper division institution. So we don't have freshmen or sophomores. We have juniors, seniors, and we have select master's programs in specific areas. So all of our undergraduate students, 100% of our undergraduate students are transfer students. Many of them about 60% of our students come straight through from a community college or transferring from another 4-year institution. But about 40% of our students are what we call adult learners. And these are students who have been out in the workforce. They have some college credit, but no credential yet. and they are coming back to finish what they started. And they come back in, they bring with them credits that they've taken at other universities. They also may bring in prior learning experiences. And in many instances, depending on what those are, we can give credit for that prior learning. Because the last thing we want is for a student to be sitting in a course learning something they already know and have done. And so our model really is focusing on those adult learners and those community college transfer students who are coming to finish their degree with us.
Yeah, I saw your tagline on your website, and it's resonating. It's how you finish.
It's how you finish.
Right? Because at Athens State University, you're going to finish. You're going to take your upper division classes, and you're going to finish your degree. And of course, my mind after working in higher ed, and you may not know this, but I worked in higher ed for 23 years as a C-level administrator. And then last month, I started working as the VP of Industry Engagement at Ellucian. So now I work in ed tech so that I can advise my friends on the critical choice of an SIS, which we'll talk about technology in a little bit. Mm-hmm. But as an upper division college, that forces, and maybe you don't need to force it, but it forces you to be really, really good at PLA and prior learning assessment and credit for prior learning, where other schools, they do have barriers to that. And I know you've worked in academics for a very long time, and there's subjectivity around these things. It's like, well, this credit doesn't map, and well, the student's going to, they need to take our courses because we earn the revenue, so we're not going to give them as many credits. There's a lot of reasons why schools don't take credits. But as an upper division campus, you got to be really, really good at assessing prior learning, right?
Yes, absolutely. And we have created an Adult Learner Services Office. And the acronym for that, if you're paying attention, is ALSO, because our students are also parents and they are also employees. And through that office, we provide prior learning assessment, and in a couple of different ways. One of them is that students can bring credentials with them. And so it may be military. They have, military experience, and in that they had coursework. It may be other kinds of industry credentials and certifications. And if it's an industry credential that we have seen before, and we've seen a lot of them, we have already mapped that to specific training. So if you've got a human resources or a real estate certificate or other kinds of specific industry certifications, we've seen it, and we have already mapped that to particular coursework that is, so there's nothing you need to do other than show us that you have that credential. The second type of way that we look at credit for prior learning is through a portfolio process. And we have students who come in, and we actually offer a class on how to actually put your prior learning into a portfolio so that portfolio can then be shared with faculty in particular departments and academic areas, and they can go in and make the decision as to what is going to count for which credit hours. So we try and do as many crosswalks as we can, because that makes it easier on students and honestly on our staff and faculty. Sure. So if we've got something already in the books and we've got a crosswalk for it, great. Even before you walk into a door or fire up a Zoom call, that you are going to get course credit for these particular items.
It's, I harp on this a lot. Not a lot of people, I listen to a lot of podcasts in higher ed, and we talk about enrollment and we talk about marketing, and then there's journalistic podcasts, but there aren't many that talk about the guts of how higher ed works. And typically when you're talking about prior learning assessment, there is a lot of opinion, and a lot of times institutions say something like this:
I don't think so.
Especially with non-credit courses, like the real estate license that you're talking about. I mean, there are institutions that will just outright tell you, no, it's not going to map. I mean, so you have to be really intentional. You have to try and want to reward students for that experience. And I think students are expecting it more. Are you hearing that amongst the student body? Like, I've done this. I feel like I should get something for it.
We're certainly hearing that, but we're also hearing students say, look, I can go elsewhere and I can get a credential, and that credential is going to make sense to somebody in industry in a particular area. And so why do I need a college degree? And what we are trying to do is rethink that model, that we are not in competition with these industry credentials. We want to work with those industry credentials to benefit the student.
100%.
There's an expectation. Students are thinking more consumer-like now. That causes some disruption amongst faculty, and there's a question, do we co-create learning, or students are consumers and so on? Probably see that consumeristic tendency at the upper level more than you would at the lower level. Do you think that would be that? Do you think that's accurate amongst adult students in upper division courses?
Most certainly. When we get our adult learners coming back in, they sometimes their kids are in college. They're paying a mortgage. They've got so this becomes yet another drain on their resources. And if we can't show that this is worth it, and it is worth it for them to invest their time and their treasure in, then I think they're going to look at other options, as I think any rational actor would do in that kind of situation. So yeah, we're absolutely seeing that happening. I think, and we've got some data to back this up, that getting a bachelor's degree in an area that you're passionate about and where there are needs in the workforce will help a person move up economically, and that benefits the student certainly, but it also benefits their family and it benefits their community.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
I was talking to somebody about this today, in fact, about the attack on the college degree, even though statistics and the facts say that it is the best golden ticket that you can have to economic mobility throughout your lifetime. Somewhere along the line, and I don't know where, it became, well, so-and-so has a bachelor's degree and they're not working in their field. And you go, well, what about 20 years from now when they go for another job and that job requires a bachelor's degree? It may be impossible to track those things, but do we look too short-term in your opinion, Catherine? Do you think that the value conversation is always short-term, ROI, short-term, year out of college, where, I know for myself, my bachelor's degree helped me 15 years after I was gone from college, and many of us the same thing. Do you think we're looking too short-term at higher ed these days and not long-term?
I think there are many instances where we do look too short-term. We look, a year or two out after graduation. Is the person working in their field? And I think that's certainly a question to ask. But I don't think that's the final question to ask, because we really need to be looking further out. And, we know that the jobs that many of our students are going to have when they graduate haven't been created yet. Right. And so we have got to be able to create a workforce, and I talk about it from an advanced workforce development perspective. There's a lot of workforce development that's done often at the community college level, in skilled jobs and skilled labor that's really important, and there's a lot of support. When we look at, we need plumbers, we need HVAC technicians, we need welders, we need and the answer is yes, we do, absolutely, and that is workforce development, and that's very important. But there's also a very important piece that we haven't paid as much attention to, and that's that advanced workforce development that can come in the context of a bachelor's degree, that is aligned with industry standards. Let's look at an RN to BSN program, a Bachelor of Science in Nursing. Those nurses are going to make more than somebody just with an RN over their lifetime, because they are being prepared to do more things. And we can see that in many of our majors, that the general education, the critical thinking, the problem solving, all of that is very important, because it helps create a student and a citizen and a worker who are able to not only do things and skills and that sort of thing, but they are lifelong learners, and they are able to look at something and come up with another perspective or another way to do that. And we need that as much as we need the skilled workers in some of those other fields.
Do you think the structure of being, an upper division college, you need to be sharper about your financial management, right? Because you don't have that 4-year lag, I'm going to say lag, but 4-year recouping all of those costs over a long period of time. You're going to have a faster completion, so you have churn, and you can shed light on this for me, how important it would be to establish loyalty, brand loyalty, to go from finishing that bachelor's into a select master's, so that you can create that pipeline and the revenue management that you need. Can you talk a little bit about the fiscal piece? Calling all higher ed marketing and enrollment management professionals. Hear, hear. The Insights EDU conference is back. This is your chance to level up your marketing and enrollment management strategies, and the EdUp Experience podcast will be there once again. Join us at the Ritz-Carlton, New Orleans, February 12th through 14th for an unforgettable conference. Registration is now open with early bird pricing.
Outstanding.
Hey everybody, this is Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience. Are you enjoying the conversation so far? Good, I hope so. Did you know that you can actually hear this conversation early before anybody else and ad free, so you don't have to hear my voice during these ads? And did you also know that you could get extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content? That's right, original content, and invites to special events, all while helping to sustain EdUp? Well, if you didn't know, now you know. So go to edupexperience.com, that's EDUP experience.com, and become a subscriber today. First, you got to sign up to our free email newsletter, and then you'll find out how to become a subscriber. Again, go to edupexperience.com.
Sure. The fiscal piece is crucial. Athens State University is a pretty lean operation because we have to be nimble. If we want to continue to align with workforce, that means we need to be in regular conversation with what is needed in our industry. Athens State, being in Athens, Alabama, we are very close to Huntsville, Alabama, and Huntsville, Alabama is one of the fastest growing areas of the country because of a lot of the industry that's going in there with defense contractors, FBI, cyber, and there's a lot of things that are changing there very, very fast. And so if we're going to help support that growth, we need to know what's happening and be able to offer programs that are specific to that need. So we're pretty lean so that we can be pretty nimble. But I will also say that our goal is not to hang on to every student and get every credit hour we can out of our students. Many of our students are part-time, and they come in the fall, but not the spring semester. Or they only come in the summer because that's when they, or whatever. So we look at where our students are, and we are always looking to bring in new students, like every university is doing, and making sure that they're taking the courses that will get them to their goal. So, for example, we have an interdisciplinary undergraduate and master's degree program that really helps students who come in and they've got credit hours that they've taken in lots of different areas, but they don't necessarily fit into a single degree. Well, the interdisciplinary will help them pull some of that together. They still get the credential. They still have the value of a bachelor's degree from an accredited institution. And yet they're able to do it in a shorter time, taking fewer credit hours than they would if they were in another one of our majors. So our focus is really on making sure that we can get that student to the point where they can complete their degree. When I look at the state of Alabama, we've got about 500,000 people across the state. This is just in Alabama, who have some college but no credential.
Yeah.
And that number is huge across the country. These are people who have, dropped out, stopped out, had health issues, or whatever. And so they haven't finished that degree. Sometimes they also have student loan debt that they're having to pay on, but they don't have the credential to help them move up economically. And so the potential pool of students that we are pulling from is pretty big. And I think that is something that higher ed as a whole is going to need to look at. We talk about the demographic cliff coming in, 2025, 2026, and that kind of thing, where there are going to be fewer 18 to 22-year-old students just because they weren't born. So there's fewer of them. Exactly. Well, there are still a lot of people who need to come back and complete a degree, or come back and start a degree in some instances.
Yeah, you're right on with that. The other piece, and the reason I hit on that financial piece, is because when you're dealing with the modern learner, adult student, commuter students, students that are going to do what you said, in and out, got to finish this one, I'm taking a break, I'll come back later. You have to be structured for it. You can't just be structured to serve a student that you're used to serving, that is a traditional student that's coming on campus or whatever, and expect that all of this infrastructure that you have is going to be what you need to serve this new type of student. And that's what's getting a lot of institutions in trouble right now. Everybody wants to access the 40 whatever million some college no credential students. And it's like, oh, we're going to offer online classes. And so now we're going to do that. Well, do you have tech support? Do you have people working in the evenings when a student might call you? And these are just basic things that institutions don't turn themselves around. Your institution's unique in that you're built that way, but it is different, right? If you're serving this modern learner, this adult student, you have to think differently. And because they're going home and they're going to hit their kids coming home from school or whatever, and they're disrupted, and then they're going to do their homework at 10, 11 o'clock at night. And so what happens when they have a problem?
Exactly. And so we have increased our help desk hours so that students can do that. Our faculty will often have their office hours and times to talk with students, evenings and weekends. And all of this is to try and help the student. If the student is working, 8 to 5 job, having something due at, 10 o'clock in the morning is not necessarily in the best interest of the student. So can it be due at midnight? Can it be due on Sunday? Can it be? And the answer is, of course, yes, it can be. We just have to create a structure that has that as an expectation. To all of that. And because of some of the new technologies, that becomes a lot easier to do, whether that's a different learning management system that will allow for that. Zoom as a modality has changed higher education that we've all been involved with, certainly since COVID, some before that, but it's made a huge difference in how we can interact with students.
Are you playing around with I see this academic terms, playing around. That's what we do, right? With programs, with different modeling, standard term, non-standard term, non-term, competency-based, B-Bay Title IV, subscription-based Title IV. Are you thinking forward on different academic modeling?
we're doing some of that now. We're having some conversations, and kind of thinking strategically. What do we want to look like in 3 years? What happens next? We do have full semester, and we do have 8-week semesters, and students can start at any of those times in some classes and some programs.
Right.
We've talked quite a bit about adding some competency-based pieces to that. One of the things that we're having some serious conversations about is adding, starting out, because competency-based education is really hard to do.
Yes.
Because it's our systems are not set up for it at all, and it's a huge paradigm shift when you look at what doing competency-based education really, really well. And so one of the things we're talking about is starting with a minor. So, while you're getting a regular major, can we add a minor in something like leadership, or something that would could attach to multiple majors, but could be done through a CBE framework. What would that look like, and how could we integrate that into the more traditional credit-based hours and those programs?
I think I'm glad you're really measured on your answer, because you for anybody that's never tried to launch, CBE is not. It's not like you just everybody around us is saying we have to offer more competency-based education. Some thought leader says you have to build in these credentials in your degrees. I'm not saying that higher ed can't do it. I'm just saying that it's not like you flip a switch on these things. We have accreditation. You have you have direct assessment competency-based. You have credit-based competency-based. You have to figure out which one you're going to do. You have to have the right technology, the right SIS, the right LMS to be able to run those. And so you might be talking about modernization or technology transformation in order to do those things. And in order to do that, you have to have the revenues. You have to have probably be thinking 3 to 5 years out. So it's not like this switch is flipped because somebody says we need to do more of X. It's not like we in higher education don't want to do these things, but they have to be strategically built. And we know the student's demanding them. We know the student says, I want to do this, I want to do that. But it's not like you just, you know what I'm saying? You can't just turn the light bulb on and all of a sudden everything's configured the way you need it. Even the Title IV moves differently.
Absolutely. Yep. So we are kind of looking at that, but it is a pretty significant paradigm shift to how we think, how we charge, back to some of the fiscal things. How do you charge for something like that? How do you help a student get financial aid and for that? And so there are a lot of pieces to it that make it a real challenge. Doesn't mean we can't do it, and we're certainly looking at trying to incorporate some of that into what we do.
Yeah, not to shoot a shot across the bow, as it were, but there's a lot of folks that just will say, thought leaders like, well, they just embed more certificates in the degree. Just put more in. Mm-hmm. Just going to grab something off the shelf and stick it in. Well, what happens if it's not recognized? What happens if it becomes stale? How quickly can we update these things? There's so many questions and so many people that have input, and the student is affected, which is why everything has to be very careful. Because if you're offering something to the student that doesn't have value, just because you're satisfying some outside entity, that sets them up for failure, and and then it hurts the brand. There's these cycles, right? We're all working these cycles,
right?
And as a president, you have to be very aware of what's the state saying. What is the state of education in Alabama? What's going on? How is the state government, the feds thinking about the education that you're offering? Can you give us a little bit of the public policy convo?
Sure. Yeah. And let me also kind of couch this in, I am still relatively new to the state of Alabama. I've been here 3 years. Learned a lot about Alabama in those 3 years, but I'm still kind of a newcomer to some of this. But I will say that that Alabama has been doing, especially as I compare it to other states. Alabama has been doing a very good job of working to appropriately fund higher education. Now, of course, I will deny I ever said that when we go up for our budget this next year, because we always want a lot more. but in truth, our legislature has been very supportive of higher education. Now, of course, they want to make sure that we are doing that higher ed is meeting its goals and is doing the kinds of things that we need to do. So there are those kinds of conversations that are regularly happening. But there are also some things that the state is doing that I think are really exciting. For example, the state has an office for apprenticeship, and is really working to create more apprenticeships within the confines of higher education programs, so that students are employed, as they're going through getting their degree, and then afterwards as well. So there are many things that the state is doing, I think, that is doing very, very well. Our state coordinating board, the Commission for Higher Education, has also been working on a project called Reengage Alabama. And that is designed to help bring back students who have stopped out or dropped out. And so there have been grant funding to institutions to create ways to really re-engage our former students. And so that, I think, has been very exciting with what we're doing and how we're doing that. So Alabama is doing some really exciting things in higher education, and really putting their money where that conversation is right now in a lot of ways.
Are you finding that the majority percentage, however you want to take this, are you mostly getting in-state students transferring into Athens State University, out-of-state students? How does it look?
Yeah, we actually are mostly focused on our Alabama students. We are a regional public institution, and so we do pull from the North Alabama area for the most part. We're not solely defined by that, but that is certainly something that we do. And because of that, we have about over 90% of our graduates are still working in Alabama 10 years after they've graduated. So we are really, really focusing on what we're doing for the state. I think as we become more and more successful at providing adult learners education, we are going to be bringing in more students remotely from other states. So I think that is certainly an area of growth for us. But we're very, very proud of the work that we do educating Alabama citizens.
And you should be. What else do you want to say about Athens State University that hasn't been said as we close out this free version of the episode?
Well, so Athens State University is actually a 200-year-old institution. So we are one of the 1822.
That's crazy.
Yep, before all kinds of things were happening in this country. So we have, as an institution, reinvented ourselves many, many different times. So it was about 50 years ago that Athens State actually became a public institution and moved from being a private institution, and has set us up as a upper division institution, working with our community colleges very, very closely. But because we are this institution that has been around for such a long time, that has really provided us ways of being able to make a difference. And we had a commencement a year or so ago, and as a student was walking across the stage to receive his diploma and shake hands with the president, called out his name, and from the back of the auditorium I heard this little voice call out, "That's my daddy."
Surprise.
And I love that because I know we are educating our students, absolutely, but our students become role models for their own family and their own neighbors and their own communities. And so the impact that we have is not just one student at a time, even though we have that. It is one community and one neighborhood at a time. And that just makes a huge difference in what we do and makes me very, very proud to be president of this institution.
Yeah, there's nothing like being at a commencement when the kids are cheering in the audience for their parents or their grandparents to walk across the stage. There's nothing quite like it. You see parents cheering their kids on at a traditional institution. That's great. But when it's the other way around, it's really impactful. So thank you for bringing that up. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of our episode. Stay tuned for our subscribers. We're going to bring Catherine back for another little segment in just a second. But let's outro her the appropriate way that we do here on the EdUp Experience. She's the one and only Dr. Catherine Wehlburg. She is the president of Athens State University. Catherine, we hope you had fun in this podcast along the way as you talked about Athens State.
Oh, this has been great. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've just EdUp. Higher education is evolving. And if you're in marketing and enrollment management, then you need to be at the Insights EDU conference.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Insights EDU 2025 is happening February 12 through 14 in New Orleans, Louisiana. This is your chance to explore the latest trends in higher education and discover new and innovative strategies to level up your program marketing and enrollment. Hear from some of the best speakers in the industry, from companies like Google, LinkedIn, Adobe, and more. Registration is now open, so secure your spot while early bird pricing is still available.
Hey everybody, this is Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience. Did you enjoy that conversation? I hope you did. Did you know that you can actually hear this conversation early on and ad-free? And you can also hear extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content. That's right, original content and invites to special events, all while helping to sustain EdUp. Did you know that? Well, if you didn't know, now you know. To become a subscriber, go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com to subscribe to our free email newsletter to learn how you can get access. Again, that's edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com.